Okay, welcome to another episode of Business Secrets for Gym Owners. I am your Uncle Vinny, coming at you live from the car. If you're watching this on video, you can see that I'm in my car at the jiu-jitsu school. And normally I do these on audio, or I just kind of talk into my phone, but the social media team has been really on my back. They've been all over me. You gotta do these on video. You can't just do audio anymore. They got to be on video. So I'm giving this a shot, and obviously the social media team is probably very happy with the quality of this video, being a parking lot in the background or whatever, but I don't care. Here I am doing it. And I'm doing one that's a little different. You know, typically there's a single topic for the show, right? And I very rarely do, like, I want to call this almost like a random grab bag episode. I remember when I used to go buy baseball cards all the time. There would be like grab bags, and you know, they're like random stuff in each thing. And so I have a grab bag of advice for you today. That's kind of what this is. And I'm structuring this in 8 things, 2 things per category. So there's 4 categories. There's one on family, there's one on business, there's one on money, and then there's one on business, and then personal health. Okay. And I wrote in my notes here. On the back of a receipt, I wrote down what we're going to talk about today. All right, and I wrote down these notes. Typically, I'm well more prepared than today, but I'm going to have a little fun with this. And actually, I honestly do believe this is going to be a really, really helpful episode. I go into each one of these podcasts, emails, whatever I do, and I have this one burning question that I ask myself. It's like, what can I do today that's going to add value into the lives of the people that listen to this stuff or read my writing? And as the same thing for you should do the same thing. When you're writing an email to your gym list, when you're doing a video for your gym list, the question you should be asking yourself is, how is this going to add value to their lives? How is it going to make their life better? And so I thought about this, and I thought about some things that I've had success with in my life, and you know, some things that I could share with you guys. So some of this is a little bit personal, but I think that there'll be there's 8 nuggets, right? And I'm hoping that at least one of these nuggets is going to be very, very, very valuable to you. I try to find some of the things that have been big movers in my life, and so I'm just going to go random. So first one. So my dad had this habit of, he was addicted to this thing called Afrin. And Afrin is like a nasal spray, so it decongests your nose. And apparently my dad had a very congested nose. Maybe it was genetic, maybe it was from, you know, the food he ate or whatever. But like I remember going up to his bedroom and there being like 12 bottles of this Afrin stuff like next to his nightstand. It was like he was addicted to it. It was just like a drug. And I don't know when this started happening to me. It was like, man, I'm having a lot of trouble breathing through my nose and getting like very congested and all things like that. And I would say I started using on a very, very regular basis Breathe Right strips. Probably, I want to say 2010. That's when I started using Breathe Right strips. Now, Breathe Right strips were like, people were looking at the old school in the 80s. They used the Breathe Right strip, and then they kind of went away. But I kind of just made the, you know, kind of interesting connection of like, all right, if I breathe better through my nose, I'm probably going to feel better. I'm probably going to sleep better. And it did. It worked a lot. So I use Breathe Right strips, and I still sleep with a Breathe Right strip every night. I really think it's awesome how Alex Hormozy he does everything. He does everything wearing a Breathe Right strip, which, hey, that's more power to him. But I do know that the benefit of that. of opening up your nose to help you breathe better, right? But it never hit home to how important this was until I read a book by a guy named James Nestor, and the book is called Breath. Everybody should read this book, and you should. This would be a great book to recommend to your clients to read. Watch your clients when they breathe in between sets. I bet you they got their tongue hanging out of their mouth and breathing very improperly. Most people do. When I read this book, now I had read Patrick McEwen's stuff before that because it was a thing for me. And I did this thing called the bulletproof sinus rinse, which Dave Asprey talks about, the sinus rinse thing. And I've tried a bunch of stuff. It wasn't until I read Breath by James Nestor that it changed my life in terms of me being able to calm down, to control anxiety, which I definitely have, right? And my life changed when I became a nose breather, because I am a habitual, and always have been a habitual mouth breather for as long as I can remember. And I'll never feel, and I can't remember when it was, but it wasn't that long ago when I read the book, because the book came out during COVID, so it wasn't that long ago. And I remember like just focusing on breathing through my nose for like days, and the amount of calm that I was feeling through focusing on breathing through my nose and on my mouth. And a lot of it comes back to an awareness. A lot of us aren't even aware that we're breathing through our nose and our mouth. And here's the thing, and one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you is I got away from nose breathing rather recently. I was going through some challenging times. There's some family stuff going on with my mom, and just stress all around. And I was like, man, I'm having a little trouble right now. I'm like having some anxiety and not able to, and all of a sudden I kind of thought back to that. I listened to a James Nestor podcast, because that's always what I do when I want to get back to something, and I started just focusing on it again. And I started focusing on it again. I started closing my mouth and breathing through my nose, and like I would feel like my stress and anxiety is melting away. And it's one of the most important things that I've ever done in my life. And here's the thing, you can lose it too, as I did. And I've recently gotten it back, but it is a game changer. So if you suffer from any type of anxiety, it's very, very likely that you are a mouth breather. You're breathing way much through your nose and not your mouth. And it probably would be something that could help you a ton. So that's my first tip. Start focusing on your breath. I heard a quote: you will never cure anxiety until you address your breathing. So you can take medication, you can do all these things, you'll never cure anxiety until you address your breathing. Okay, so that is number one. I'm gonna have to go a little quicker on my little cheat sheet here. Okay, I'm gonna switch to writing, and that's number two. And when I became a consultant, right, when I decided to help gym owners grow their business, they said to me, my advisors and mentors said to me, there's two skills that you need to get really good at, that at the time I wasn't that good at. And that was writing, and I'm going to give you the next one and the other one, but the first one is writing. And they said, you got to be able to write. You got to be able to write books. You got to be able to write emails. You got to be able to write blog posts and all these things like that. And you just got to get better at it. And I think that becoming a good writer, and, you know, I don't necessarily write like, fiction, right? So I don't read fiction. I don't write fiction, even though I probably should. And I know, and a lot of marketers say that you should read a lot of fiction. I just don't. And most of the stuff I write is around getting people to buy. And it's influential writing. It's moving people from your email list to becoming a client of whatever business that you have. And I've been able to develop this skill of writing through doing one thing and one thing only. And this is the one tip that I'll share with you. If you want to become better at marketing, the most powerful way that you can become better at marketing is commit to writing an email every day. That is what I did several years ago, and that's the commitment I've made. And many of you on my email list know that you get an email from me every day. And so I think if you're looking to get better at marketing, making that commitment to writing one email a day. And here's the thing, the way I teach it, it only takes 30 minutes. So I set a timer for 30 minutes, and that's how long it takes me to write that email that I send you guys every day. So it's not a lot of time, but in that time, what you're doing is you're practicing. You're practicing sitting down, you're practicing thinking about what your market wants, you're practicing writing words to get people to respond, you're practicing creating, coming up with offers. It's just a really, really, really powerful way for you to get better at something that's really important for you to learn. So that is number 2. If you want to get better at marketing, write an email every day. Now, maybe you don't start with every day, okay? Ideally, it's every day. Maybe you're doing 2 emails a week and you want to get better at it. Well, you got to do more. It doesn't take a lot of time. They do say that all you need to do to be a good writer is sit down at the keyboard and slit your wrists. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you can do it. If you really want to take your marketing game to the next level, that's a way to do it. Okay, so that's number 2, write. And write frequently, and typically email is a great way to do it. You're not going to be writing, as a gym owner, you're not going to be writing a lot of long form sales letter copy and things like that. All right, and yeah, you read some social posts, but the cool thing about an email is you can take that email, write the email, and then you could turn that same copy, shrink it down, and turn that into your social post. But email can be kind of that pillar content that you take and use from a lot of places. Just a good habit to create, but it's been a very, very helpful one for me. Okay, number 3. So that was one personal health. That was one business. Here is here's a marriage one, family one. So I can be a jerk. I can be a very judgmental person, and I can be a jerk. And for a very, very long time, I was a jerk to my wife. And I was a jerk to my wife because I focused more on everyone here, myself, you listening to this, everyone has a list of things that are great about them and things that are not so great about them. Everyone's got that list. And what you want to do is you want to look at that list. And if you want to have a really great marriage, well, let me back it up. If you want to have a really shitty marriage, you focus on the things that aren't so great. If you want to have a great marriage, you focus on the things that are great. And for way too long, I spent a lot of time thinking about the things that aren't so great. And when I stopped and I thought about it, how many awesome, wonderful things there actually are, I was like, why don't I focus on these more? Because your mind's kind of drawn to the negative, right? Your mind's drawn to what's wrong. Most people are focused on what's wrong over what's right. But this is an important one to shift around. This is an important one to focus on. Hey, I am going to focus on the good things about my spouse and not everything that's wrong with them. And I guarantee you, it'll make a very, very, very big difference in your marriage as it has with mine. So make that decision, and that is a choice, right? All that is a choice. You're making a decision to decide. And every time you wake up in the morning, you have that right. You have that right to decision to decide. It's what are you going to decide today? And my advice to you is to show up and focus on what's right instead of what's wrong. Okay, so that's your marriage advice right there. Number 4, here's a money one. Okay, money one. One of the most powerful meetings of my life was a meeting that I had with my financial advisor. And he basically sat me down and he asked me, how much money do you want to have at the end of your life? Right? He basically said, what do you want to leave to your family? Well, how much money do you want to have when you're older? What do you want to be able to retire on? All of that stuff. So we kind of fast forwarded to the end. And I created a vision. I kind of told him what I wanted to accomplish. And he said, okay. And he put that in his computer. He factored in, how much money I was gonna, I told him I still wanted to work, but I didn't want to work like full time like I'm working now. I wanted to be able to like be kind of a freelancer. So it was less money, but then my living, so he factored all of that into the computer, this big computer you have. And he basically spit out, all right, this is it. You just got to save this amount of money every month. If you save this amount of money every month, you will have exactly what you want by the end of your life. And now the key word is save and invest. So it wasn't just save, it was save and invest. If you invested this amount of money, and you did that consistently, you can't miss months, you got to do it every month, you will have this much money. And I'll never forget the feeling that I had. I'll never forget the feeling of clarity, of confidence, of a weight was lifted off me. Of all right, because like I think at the time in my life I was like very uncertain. I was like, because at the time I was just, the only thing I had was a gym. I was like, am I gonna be able to like put my kids through college? Like, is this enough? Like, am I doing all right? Like, am I gonna make it? And it's just like I came from a family of financial advisors, right? Money was not like an issue for me growing up, right? It was just it was a benefit. It was a good thing. But then I decided to get into a different field that wasn't as focused around the money side, right? Usually financial advisors make a lot more money than gym owners. But I went and I was like, no, it's like, it's not about how much money you make. It's really about how much money you invest, you put aside. And what was the most powerful was knowing the number, right? And knowing that I could have everything I wanted in my life if I was disciplined around saving this amount of money per month and investing, saving and investing. So my advice to you is get a financial advisor, decide what you want at the end of your life. What do you want? Do you want a farmhouse? What do you want? A lake house? Do you want to retire with, all the money in the world? Do you want to retire with nothing? Whatever it is, what do you want to do in your life? And how much money do you need to start saving now to be able to do it? That was a really, really powerful one for me. Okay, that was number, I don't know. So let's go back up to personal health and go with my second personal health one. I picked two kind of different personal health ones. This one's not like different, but I didn't pick like working out every day. Like I'm hoping, like I work out every day. Like I do something every day. I'm hoping most of you do too. You should. So I picked one side. So the first one was nose breathing. The second personal health one was meditation for me. And there's a lot out there on morning routines, and you got people coming out there saying death to the morning routine, and morning routines are dead, and like don't get up and work, and like coffee lift, go, great, good for you. I'm glad that you don't need a morning routine. And I don't know, I've never learned a 5-hour morning routine from anybody else. So I don't know who's teaching that, if there is someone out there teaching that. But the biggest thing I want to take away from all this stuff is find what works for you. Find what works best for you, and then to go do that. Just because some guru says all he needs to do is drink a cup of coffee and go lift, doesn't mean that's the right thing for you. It's not the right thing for me. I hate working out in the morning. I just don't like it. I don't want to do it. I work out in the afternoon. That's like what I do. I get up, and the first thing I do is I meditate, because that's what I need. And that's what makes me the best version of myself, is 20 minutes of meditation. I get up, go brush my teeth, go downstairs, drink my water with my supplements, and I go meditate. That is it. That's the routine for me. And after that, that's when I start working. But that is something that I need. And it's been a big game changer in my life. I started learning through Headspace. And then I eventually got certified through TM, which is transcendental meditation. I've tried a bunch of different things, but TM's, it seems to work really well. I have also dabbled in this thing called theater of the mind, which is outstanding. You should read Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz's book, really good stuff. So there you have it. Meditation has been, and here's the thing about meditation. A lot of people think that it is, and I don't want to go too deep on this, but I will. A lot of people think that meditation is about feeling calm and calming yourself down. Meditation is about quieting your mind. And when you have lots of noise in your head, you quiet the mind, right? When you have lots of noise in your head, it's hard to think and it's hard to make decisions. So what meditation does, meditation helps quiet the mind. So there's not as much emotion connected to every voice that you have in your head. You don't freak out every time you hear something in your head that you don't like. And that's what meditation helps with. But the other thing that meditation helps with is helps with letting go. And that is, from what I've learned, the real secret to everything is being able to let shit go. And what meditation is meditation is training to be able to let stuff go. That you will do a better job of letting things go, not letting things bother you, not holding grudges and resentment. How many people are just making themselves miserable from all the resentment and the grudges that they're having? It's just like an inability to let go. They got to hold on to this whatever painful thing that they have for some reason, right? And so meditation helps with quieting your mind, not as many noises in your head, not as much emotion connected to those noises, and then it helps really, the real power of it is it gives you the ability to be able to let go easier when you're doing it. Okay, so that's meditation. Take that for what it's worth. Again, it's not for everybody, I tell you, but it is for a lot of people. There's a lot of people doing meditation. Okay. The second business one, I'm going all over the place. The second business one is public speaking. And I started my public speaking career on fields, like many of you, right? I started training teams. And I had to get in front of 100 football athletes and yell and scream and yell the warm-up. Well, that's public speaking. And that's kind of how I started. And obviously, it kind of turned into doing mini workshops and seminars. And now, all of a sudden, I'm speaking all over the country with Perform Better. And obviously, this podcast is a form of public speaking. But I look at two skills. If I looked at my kids, I have 3 kids. And if there was 2 skills, there's other ones, but there's 2 skills that I would be really happy that my kids had. One of them would be writing, as I said before, but the other one would be speaking. That my kids can get up in front of a room, hold their own, communicate well. That is just an unbelievable skill set to be able to have. And actually, we have family meetings every Sunday, and we give our kids opportunities and chances to speak at the meeting, and it's mini practices. It's mini practices for public speaking. But I believe you as a gym owner, if you can start doing a good job in your community of speaking, maybe it's not speaking in front of people, but maybe it is you having your own video show or you having a podcast. I mean, you look at one of my clients. I've had a client since 2012, a guy named Kyle Newell. He does a video like every damn day. Like, the dude is never not doing a video every day. And he's gotten better and better and better and better and better at public speaking. And his success is like skyrocketing because of his ability to have the confidence to get in front of people and say words that influence others. So if that's one skill to think about, to potentially look into, and here's the tip on how to get better at public speaking. The only way to get better at public speaking is to public speak. That is it. You need to put yourself in the environment. You need to put yourself in the uncomfortable situations. Start small, go big. You know, I started with very, very small. Obviously started with, like I just said, teams. But my first real public speaking in front of an audience was through these little mini workshops of 10 to 12 people, right? You can get good doing those things. So get out there, get out into your community and speak. Okay. Another family one is so I'm a dad of 3, and I'm just starting, my kids are 12, 10, and 8, so I'm just starting to get into situations where they're having like trouble with friends, and there's like incidents happening, and it has to become like a conversation with them, right? It's like you want to talk to them about it. And, a lot of times that can come across as, oh, that's just dad, tell me what to do, or moms. And a lot of times parents can have a very, I don't want to say negative, but it's like almost like a not really that helpful of a way to guide them through situations. Because they're very comfortable with you. So they have their guard up, and they don't want to it's very easy for them to say, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. It's very easy for them to say that, right? Because they're so comfortable and confident with you. Because they know you love them, and they can do that. So I've started taking a different tune. One of my kids was having trouble with something. I'm not gonna get into specifics, right? And I really wanted to talk to her about it, but I knew that if I talked to her about it, I would just be like, hey, it would come with the resistance that I kind of was just talking about. And so I remember the situation that she was experiencing, and I remember being in a similar situation as a young kid her age. And so what I did was I wrote her a 2-page letter, and I used the skills I have in writing, so kind of linking back to one of the other things, and I wrote her this really, really long letter. And my wife read it, and she was like, oh, she was crying. It's just like, it's great. And, my daughter came in, and she really appreciated the letter, and you could tell, she got it. And it wasn't from me, barking at her or talking at her. It was just me sharing my experience on her time, right? Not on my agenda and all. So you got to listen to me. And I remember, my dad he had this office. He would bring me into the office and he'd sit me down and he would just talk at me for hours, and I'd be tune him out. And so I found it. I'm trying to find different ways to do it. And I was in her room the other day, and the letter was on her nightstand, and I was like, oh, you still got this on your nightstand? It was several weeks away. She was like, yeah, I read it every night. She's like, every night I read the letter. And it's funny because I've been noticing she's happier and making progress and doing the things. And I'm just she's like, I read the letter every night. And it's so there it was this thing that I could have had one conversation with her that probably would have gone poorly. And then I have this letter that I write to her that she then can consume on her time, right? Take the lesson, take whatever it is I said, and then reinforce that over and over and over again. Now, will she read every letter every night? And I don't know. Is she still reading it every night? I don't know. Probably not. But the reality of the situation is sometimes when you're working with your kids, and here's the thing, I am no parenting expert. If you want parenting experts, talk to Joe and Mel Hashi and go to their podcast, Strong Family Project. They know what the hell they're doing. I'm just learning from them and trying to find my way to do as best job as I can. I am a highly imperfect parent by any means. But there are some little things that all of a sudden you do that. It's like, oh, wow, that really worked. I'm going to do that one again. That actually was successful. Really good. So write letters when your kids are struggling with something and maybe the right thing is to talk to them. Write letters to them and see how that goes. And the last one is a business one or a money one. And that is please focus on profit over revenue. Real simple, real easy, but I was a revenue junkie for a long time. I liked the $1 million gym. I liked it and I pushed it. I want to hit those big numbers. And it's just at the end of the day, it doesn't freaking matter what the revenue is. It matters what the profit is. So make sure that you're focusing on that. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it. Revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family. And so focus on that. You got to look at a profit and loss statement. You got to understand, that you can't keep the revenue. You can only keep the profit, and you can't even keep all the profit because you got to pay tax on that. But at the end of the day, be a profit-focused business owner. Understand and know the power of that. Understand how to spike revenue when you need to, how to manage expenses when you need to. But understand that the bottom line number is really the one that you need to pay attention to the most. So, all right, that went about 25 minutes longer than I thought it was going to go. So hopefully there was one thing in that podcast. And again, I told you, it was like a grab bag of stuff, bunch of random thoughts, random things. Some of them I've had success with. I'm a highly imperfect person. Vanessa will tell you that. But the one thing I do is I try to just become better every day. I remember one of my favorite quotes is an unexamined life is not worth living by Socrates. And it's just like, I am constantly looking at how I'm living my life and say, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? How can I become better? And so when I did my Strength Finders test, that was my number one skill, was learner. And so I'm always learning, I'm always growing, but every once in a while, God throws me a bone and gives me something good that works. And these were some of the things that have worked for me, and hopefully they helped you out too. So hopefully you got one nugget from this, and I will see you back, and I'll check out with the social media team and see how the video went. Peace.